everyone, happy 2025. You might have found this video because you are looking to learn a new hobby in 2025, or you want to learn to crochet if you got more specific than that. I appreciate you coming here. You came to the right place. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to get started by being able to crochet. I started crocheting in September of 2023, and now obviously I have this hat on my head. I have this blanket behind me. I'm currently working on this sweater, so if you see me doing stitches over here, it's because I have waited long enough for this yarn to come back in the mail, so now I'm able to work on this sweater. With that, I want to also address that there is a common misconception that crochet clothes are ugly. I don't know who's saying that, but to that I say, you're ugly. I'm just kidding. I think that you can literally make whatever the you want, and go on Pinterest. You will find something that is suitable for literally everyone. I have made shirts for my fiance. I have made bikini tops for my friends. I would love to make a little knit booty short or something. Woohoo! What else? Like shirts, tops, scarves, whatever. You get the point. Pick whatever colors you want, whatever stitches, granny squares. There's so many types of granny squares out there. So anyways, it's not ugly. Let's talk about what you need to get started. First, you're gonna need like $20 tops, okay? Go to, and a trip to your local yarn store, craft store. You can go to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, a local mom and pop shop. But first, you're also going to need crochet hooks. So let's talk about crochet hooks for a second. You can either buy individual hooks or you can buy them in a pack. When I first started, I bought them in a pack. I bought all these here, as you can see, in a pack. It was probably like $10 to $12, or you can just buy one hook if you really want to do this on a budget. Like, you can learn to crochet with $10 even. If you're going to buy just one hook, I would recommend the 5mm. You can make tons of stuff with a 5mm. You can make blankets, you can make granny squares, you can make shirts, you can do so much with this, and it's not going to take you that much time like if you were to be using a 2.5. And if you just want to see what the difference of that looks like, you can clearly see that the hooks themselves are much different. This is about half the size of this. So obviously you're gonna need more stitches to basically make the same type of garment. So again, I recommend the 5 to learn how to get started. And again, to know that it's a 5 or just any of the sizes in general, like I just showed you, it's probably going to be on the grip. So with this type, you obviously have it here. With these metal ones, it's, you know, kind of centered right there. I also have some with the wooden handle, and they also show them here. So it's pretty easy to be able to figure out what size hook it is that you're about to buy. Secondly, you're going to need yarn, right? So this one here is 100% acrylic. It cost me maybe $3 to $4. Hobby Lobby always has sales, super cheap. And this is huge. Like this could last me so long, depending on what you're making, okay? You also need to figure out what, it also says $4.99 here, I will say. Again, like I said, Hobby Lobby always has sales. Typically, if you scan this, it's gonna be like $1 less. But if that doesn't happen to you, don't come crying to me. Let's just start with the basics. I don't want to get into everything else here, like grams and meters and yards and things like that. I didn't look at that to start. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But to me, I just looked at the composition. Is that the right word for it? I actually don't know, but that's what I'm going to call it. Like what is the yarn made of? And also the size. What hook goes with it, okay? So as you can see here, this says 100% acrylic. Again, that's why it's pretty cheap. You're not working with something like wool or something like that. You will eventually, you can do that. But if you want to learn to crochet and you've never picked up a hook in your life, do something cheap like this, okay? Because you're going to be unraveling it, yanking it back, knotting it up. You don't want something nice to start, okay? We're learning, all right? We're not actually making something yet, okay? And then secondly, obviously I mentioned the size. This here shows, hopefully the camera's focusing. I literally have no idea, I can't see. So let's hope that it happened. This one shows 5mm for knitting, but we're not knitting, we're crocheting. This one shows 5.5mm for the crochet hook. Obviously I recommended using a 5mm hook. You can use a 5 with the 5.5, okay? You can use a lot of other sizes with various recommendation for yarn. I will say though, just to start, just pick up a 5mm crochet hook and find a yarn that has a recommended size of like 5 to 5.5. Okay, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Next, you are going to need yarn needles. These are also called darning needles. I got these in a pack of 2, and I still have the same ones that I bought a year and a half ago. Hasn't been that long. Can't be. Obviously, they have a wider, what's called an eye, so that way I can actually take this yarn and feed it through those loops as opposed to like your smaller sewing needle. And that was like $1.99. So let's recap for a second. You have your crochet hooks, tops for a pack, $12, okay? Then you have this ball of yarn, around $4. Okay, what are we at? 16. This is $1.99. So we're at about $18 now, okay? The purpose of these, let's actually talk about that for a second. So let's use the sweater that I'm making as an example. I recently had to feed in another skein because I ran out of the last one. And I have these little edges here, obviously, right? So what I will do is feed them through this loop and then weave them in and out, tuck them into these stitches and then pull it through. That way it doesn't come unraveled. That way it's hidden within the garment itself and you don't see where it starts or stops.
Oh, wow.
That's why that's there. Or you have like the tail where you start and where you stop. Obviously this needs to be woven in as well. So that's why you need these. Definitely very important. But then obviously once you weave it in, you can either weave it in entirely or you can just go weave it in a little bit and then snip it. So obviously that brings me to my next point, scissors. So if you don't already have these in your house, I think you have bigger problems than just learning how to crochet. I did buy these to start, but you can take your kitchen scissors, you can take whatever other craft scissors you have, whatever scissors you have lying around in your house, those are fine. You really don't have to go and buy special scissors for this. These are good because I also learned to sew because crochet is a gateway, and then I learned to do other things. I have other things that I want to learn to do, but whatever, that's a story for another video. So anyways, I didn't factor that into the cost. Right now we're at about $18. If you don't have a pair of scissors, I hope it doesn't cost $1. Go to Walmart or something or buy some on Amazon. I'm sure they'll get delivered to you for like $1. Probably not, but you get what I'm saying. It's pretty cheap to learn. All right, so we have your yarn, you have your crochet hooks, you have your yarn needles, and you have scissors. That is really the core of what you need to get started. I will say there are a couple of other items that you will get eventually along the way, whether that be in a week when you're, off to the races and you're actually hooked, or, you can't go anymore without buying these items. The first one being stitch markers. This helps you figure out like where to put certain things, certain stitches, if you're doing like a different type of stitch, or if you're trying to figure out like where something started or stopped with, if you're working with a darker yarn. Sometimes I like to sit on my couch and my fiance likes to turn the lights off. But if I'm working with a black yarn, I can't see anything. So sometimes it's helpful to know where you start. Another example would be, like I showed you, I'm working on this sweater and I clearly have buttons on here. So I needed to be able to evenly space out these buttons and also be able to match them up with the holes that I created on the other side. So having the stitch markers was super helpful to be able to do that. Another thing that you can do with stitch markers is line up your piece before you actually sew it together. So obviously I have one armhole or one sleeve sewn to the armhole, and I was able to do this by lining up the sleeve. This is another sleeve that I'm making, so once I'm finished, then I'll be able to line it up with stitch markers and then seamlessly sew it in here. So that's what I did over here to make that pretty flush. So yeah, those are, that's why stitch markers are helpful. Obviously, like you will probably need them eventually, but for now, if you're just gonna be making like a granny square, you probably don't need stitch markers. So that's something later to come. The other thing I would recommend is also a tape measure, like a flimsy one like this. This is helpful because I finally gave in to learning to do a gauge, which basically tells you how many stitches equal X number of inches or how many rows equal X number of inches, so that way you can scale your piece. So for example, like I keep using this sweater as an example, but it's actually a really good example because I made this sweater to my exact proportions, and I did that because I started with a gauge, which actually is... it's actually over here. So I started with this little piece. I just made a little rectangle so I could know how many rows make how many inches and how many stitches make how many inches. So that way, once I measured my, my arm length, my circumference, my chest and whatever, all that, you get what I'm saying, then I could know how many stitches I need or how many rows I need to be able to do it. And then because I'm also making a pattern, I want to be able to change the size. I want to be able to make it for, people of all sizes as well. So how do I scale that? And so it does take a little bit of math, but again, that's probably a topic for another video. And then the last thing I will also recommend is a little organizational method. I bought this box, I think at the same time. If you have one lying around your house, you can even use a cardboard box. I don't care, but something to put all of this in so you can keep track of it. I lose these all the time. It's actually a miracle that I've still held on to the two that I bought initially. And it's because I think I have this little box. I constantly actually lose these in my couch and then they fall through and then I find them on the floor under my couch with, on my hands and knees with a flashlight. But I've been able to hang on to them somehow. But now that you have your supplies, I want to tell you what to do next. So I already kind of hinted at it Now that you have all your supplies, you need to go watch a video of how to cast on. So basically like how to be able to attach your yarn to your hook, and then how to make a chain. So how to make, it's called like a foundation chain. So what you're going to be working into. And then you'll need to know various stitch types. I'm plucking cat and dog hair from my little cage. Anyway, it's all over my little sweater that I'm making. But yeah, so you'll need to learn how to make a couple of different stitches. You'll want to learn how to do a slip stitch. You want to learn how to do a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, and a triple crochet. And I say it in that order because that basically going in that direction is like basically working your way up with stitch size. You'll see what I mean when I show you in another video of what each of those look like, but it basically is like a smallest type of stitch up to a larger type of stitch. But that will be important. So once you have your cast on, your chain, and a couple different stitches, you can make a granny square. And I actually still have different granny squares that I made when I first started. I want to make a couple different granny squares that will tell you how to do a couple different things. So I still have this first little guy that I made. Okay, I could probably unravel it and we'll all come apart. I started there and then I was like, there's no fixing this. Let me try a different one. And then I think I made this one. Again, getting a little bit better. And then I think this is like the final version of all of those, what it was supposed to be. So I eventually got it. And then once I got it, I was like, okay, let me learn a couple of other types of granny squares. So then I made this one. It's a little, I probably did something wrong here at the time, but obviously these are two different things or patterns. And then I also learned this one as well. I think I still needed to figure out how to master a corner, but I was getting the hang of it, I think. I keep those as a reminder to myself of how far I've come and what I needed to do to get started. Trust the process. And I will say the beautiful thing about crocheting is that you can continue to unravel, restart, take it all apart, relearn it. So don't be discouraged, don't get frustrated, have fun with it. I remember I rewatched videos over and over and over again. I replayed it, I try to master it, and everything else I think will be a lot easier down the line. It's so much fun. You can literally make anything. But anyways, I hope this was helpful to you. I will continue to make more videos, but my name is Ashley and this is Brand by Brooks. Feel free to check out my Instagram page or my TikTok, my Etsy. What else do I got? Patterns, I'm making patterns. I probably won't have finished it by the time that I upload this video, but I do have patterns to come. And yeah, check out my other videos on what to do next. All right, love ya.